So I was going to say we didn't do a meeting last week, but I think we did. And then this week, something I was looking at, YouTube keeps saying, "Oh, Windows 10 is going to go away," and there all this nonsense. And I thought I need to get rid of my Windows computer. The one I'm using right now is a Windows computer to do these meetings on. And I was thinking I should just replace that with a Linux computer that's sitting here, and just switch everything over and just dump Windows completely. But then I realized I haven't being I haven't been keeping track of the stuff on ROS forever. I knew that they were going to come up with the latest the last version of ROS one was going to be put out, and I hadn't looked anywhere beyond that other than a couple of times I've loaded up ROS two just to see what it does, see if I can get it to run, and I haven't done any more than that on it. But I know the all the tight integration they have between the version of ROS and the version of, whether you run Ubuntu or some other Linux version, and then you have to get the right version of that particular type of Linux, and all the stuff has to match. And I just need to go look at it and see, what is the state of the art, and how do you know what you can run and what you can't run. So I was realizing I need to go do that. You just pull up all the modern documentation and find out, what are the rules, and find out what version of ROS 2 they're on. And yeah, just I guess I just need to do that and go from there. So before I start trying to swap out this Windows computer, I need to look at that and then try to figure out, can I just take this Linux computer and just slide it over into place and load up Zoom on it and whatever else I need to make this stuff go, and just figure out what programs are on the reason I had to have a Windows computer in the first place, figure out what programs I thought had to run on that, and then try to replace them with something that will work. Then hopefully I can get rid of the Windows completely. And then when I'm done, I'll have this it's a little, I think it's a Dell. It's a Latitude E5250. And it says it's got an Intel i3 processor in it. And it seems to do a reasonable job. And that would be nice to put that on a robot because it's smaller, and it's all self-contained, and the keyboard works, and the all that kind of stuff works on it. So that would be nice to just use that as a robot computer. So that's something I might look into. And if I analyze what it takes to run ROS 2 on the modern computers, maybe I'll come back and say, here's what I found. And if nothing else, point to the web pages that tell you the documentation that says, here's what you need to know to get this stuff to work. So I guess that's at the moment, that's all I got. So any questions on that? I realize you got to ask for questions here.
One more time, what was the brand and the size of the notebook?
It happens to be a Dell, and it says Latitude E5250. It's got an Intel i3 processor in it. It's one that I found it on. I think I found it on Amazon, and it was under the. It's got a sticker that says Revive IT sticker on it. So it's one of these, used ones.
Rebuilt.
What they call refurbished, which there wasn't any refurbishing about it. They just simply took it out of the box and maybe reloaded the Windows 10 on it, and then sold it. But I got it for like $99 or something at a time, which I thought was a
Oh, wow, that's
I
cheap.
thought I thought it was a really good deal. And now I go back and look, and I can't find something like this. It'd be nice to get one of an i5, the same type of thing, but they seem to want real money for them again. So I don't know if there was just a glut of them at one point, or why I ended up with it. But at the time, I needed a computer. I looked, I found it, just worked out great for what I wanted, and that's kind of where I'm at with this.
Well, on my side of the house, let's see, share screen. I This is a PowerPoint deck and it's got a bunch of slides in it, and just trying to show get to a slide here, show the goal, the goal, the goal, the goal, the goal. Um, yeah, I need to basically create a plan. So for my robot to run. So I had to make some final adjustments. I got my UDEV rules straightened out. I got my permissions straightened out on some Python code that needed to be um, set to execution after I rebuilt the machine. And, I was actually able to drive it and run the perimeter. Now I've got a perimeter, but I need to create a series of these um, X and Y points in order to build a plan. And that's what the perimeter looks like. I start up here, I come down and run here. There's a couple of obstacles. Here's a septic tank pump kind of thing. And here's a tree. So I ran some circles around that to get some points. And sort of remembering how I did this before, because effectively why I had to do it is I have a fixed position for my GPS base station now, and that's not going to change. So I need to go back and recalculate my X and Y points on everything. And so my process so far has been, um, as you can see, this is effectively a square. It's not an exact square. So I just grabbed four of the points and said, okay, well, I'll just try to do this quickly and get those 4 points. I then, plotted those 4 points to make sure I was happy with that. And then I've got a program here. This particular program that will take those 4 points and build this, what's referred to as Jeff probably can pronounce it better than I can, Boostrophodon path. And the 19 degrees refers to, the angle of these lines. I could run them east, west, or north, south, and I just ran them this way to try to minimize the overlap. So that's as far as I've gotten. I've got some more programs that will calculate the Dubin's path to make the turn around each of these, because remember, this is the sort of the outer edge. I've got to start the turnaround before that to be safe. And this is what that looked like when I had my GPS points in another way. So anyway, I'm in the process of path building. I never realized how much time you could take on building these paths, but yeah, after I do it half a dozen times, that'll probably get easier. But where I'm at the moment is going back through my archives and trying to figure out how I did this before and then cleaned it up. This was an unclean version, because you can see all the lines aren't exactly parallel. So that's where I'm at, path planning. So I can then go run a test with those uh, Dubin's, call them Dubin's U-turns. And that's it.
I did notice on the first one you showed, you said you're driving around the perimeter. You had a couple spots where it would jump. Is that did you purposely do that, or did your GPS drop out at some point, or you had one in the lower left hand corner and you had one in the upper
Yeah,
right hand
that's a
corner? I saw a couple
very
couple
good,
things where it did that.
a very good observation. Let me get back up to it. Come on. So specifically, what will this zoom? This is just a screen print, so, but I'll be able to zoom in this way. Um, so right here, this is at the bottom of a piece of property is on a bit of an incline. This is the very lowest point of the incline. There happens to be the back of the property is here, and so there's a row of trees all along here. So I don't know if it's the incline or the trees, but that jump is clearly um, it lost fix and went to float, and that's what I got. So the second time I ran it, this was the first time. The second time I ran the perimeter, I said, "Ooh, um, I'm going to run that a little bit further away from the trees and just um, see what I got." And you can see, I did get through there with no apparent jumps. I thought that was the only one. Let's see. Oh yeah, I got one there too. That's a bit of a bigger one. There's a tree right here, and I was running a couple of rings around that tree. So I'm going to assume that that was a jump triggered by the tree.
And did that actually just stop recording? Is what caused that jump, or is it you're saying if it's not fixed, do something different with the data coming out, or what is what would have actually happened there? It looks like you drove around the tree several times, and then when you went to drive out to the path, it wasn't for some reason it wasn't recording. I assume there's no points in between there. It just simply jumped at that point.
Yeah, I'm pausing because I haven't gone back and it's a ROS bag file. I mean, these blue dots represent a plot of the ROS bag file. I don't know if there is like the computer hung up and didn't post data to the ROS bag file, or whether it's just a physical jump. So I don't know, to answer your question. I just assumed it was uh, a jump in the GPS and not a delay in the computer, posting ROS bag data. But let's see, does that make
Well, the two lines in the upper right hand corner, that are those supposed to be on top of each other, or should it be like a triangle like it is?
these two lines?
That line and the line below it.
So this is coming out of the parking spot, making my way to the path, and this is returning to the parking spot.
It just almost
So
looks like that amount of jump you're seeing there is about the width of that, the difference of those two lines. So I was just wondering if, the whole thing is if you just slide that thing up and put those two the 2 points where it jumped between, if you put those on top of each other, is that just gonna I just wonder would it put that path in the upper right hand corner would put those two lines on top of each other if you did that, if that if that makes any sense.
I didn't use plot juggler yet. I think so. It makes sense. I think what I should do is probably run plot juggler and see, especially around these points, what sort of data plot juggler is showing.
And it's
But
also
this,
handy if you're plotting the stuff out, if you can go and pick up your, say, your GPS status, so it tells you whether you have a fix or a float or nothing. And
yeah,
if you can change the color of your plot here, and I'm not sure if you can do that directly on say plot juggler. Say I want to change the color of the points based on this, but I want the XY from something else. I don't know if you could just easily do that. You could have an intermediate program that would you run it and it would say, take the XY point and then go get the fix and then set the color that we're going to plot. And that way, as you're driving around, you can see, um, I guess if nothing else, you can just pull up the, plot your GPS status. And again, it would be handy to change the color on it. Right hand, off the top of my head, I can't think how to do that in Plot Juggler, how you could do that. But that would be handy. Just by looking at it, you can tell, was it in a fixed status the whole time, or was it dropping between out of fixed into float? And it could be that right there where it did that jump, it could be you lost your GPS completely, so it might have dropped to say no solution at all, and then it popped back in. Maybe that's why it did that jump. So that's just handy if you can see that. Otherwise, if you just plot it out, plot your fixed status where you got like 2 or 3 numbers, and just as you go along, that number will jump up and down, and you can see, just having any visual indication so you can tell how well that was working, and if your GPS status is dropping out, that would be nice to know.
Yeah, I haven't spent any time with Plot Juggler on this particular bag file, so you're right, I should spend a little time looking at it using that because it's more useful than me just plotting out the points with the pie plot. So anyway, slow progress, but and I just have to programming, figuring out the path and getting the path right. That's going to be an investment of time. It's just interesting to me.
How much of the stuff can you do at home, and how much do you have to do when you're actually out at the mowing site, as you're doing this, say recording your path and setting up the path and generating new stuff? What how much can you go home and sit in front of sit at a desk at home, and run all this stuff and say, okay, here's the path I'm going to run, and then the next day you go out and load it on the lawnmower and have it drive around. What
Yeah, percentage wise, I'm going to tell you it's 95% at home. Because once I'm field testing, for me, it either works or it doesn't. And if it doesn't work, then I've got to like think through it. And yeah, so to me, field, it's 95% at home. And it's, until I do it a half a dozen times, the, the, well, I'm trying to find, come on. If you look at these Dubin's curves, you know, I haven't found anybody who does this, who's got a package that does this. So like, I mean, this was on the previous sort of frame of reference, and how this has got a curve to it. Well, figuring out where to place this point, as we know that this point and that point are the 2 points that are important in the Dubin's path planning, but then you've got to accommodate, I don't want to go past this point. And so where do I start? That's for me been, um, a lot of, it's been time consuming figuring all that stuff out because the Bostrofidin, whatever, it, it'll calculate these line segments. And so you got an X and Y start point, but then you have to make a continuous path out of that. Anyway, there's a lot of calculating to do, and I haven't found anybody who makes that easy for an Ackerman vehicle. Or the tank treads or zero turn kind of deals. They just go to the end of that and sort of turn around. But Ackerman is a little bit just more challenging. I'll quit bitching now.
I guess the fact that you can go home and do most of your desk means you don't have to sit out in the sunlight trying to write code on your computer. So that's a great advantage there.
That is absolutely a good advantage. And even today, I'm on a Windows machine, and I'm using Real VNC to log into the tractor computer, and that's helpful too. So I could at least sit in my truck with as long as I've got Wi-Fi on both ends, and don't have to fight through the. I can't see the screen. Anyway, and then somebody sent me today a picture of one of these all dancing, all singing robots, and he's like, "Can yours do this?" And I'm like, "No." It's one of these. It's called Wall Street Silver robot. Never heard of it. It's one of these four-legged dog-looking kind of deals. Anyway,
Yeah, I've purposely never seen the attraction of dancing robots, but that, some people really like that.
you've never seen that.
Well, I have seen it, but I don't see the point of
Oh,
it
oh yeah,
because
makes for a good
it's just a
ad.
pre-programmed sequence of making this stuff move. And yeah, that's real cute, but it's not really other than just being visually attractive. I guess there's really no point to it.
I did hear two different things though. So Boston Dynamics, the humanoid robots, are getting a lot of press these days. And one thing on the Boston Dynamics humanoid robot, they switched from hydraulic controls to electric motors, um, which was a big shift for them. So no more the one the the ones that did the TV commercials with what's the beer from Boston? Um, anyway, they did a really funny commercial with the, the beer guy. And then Elon Musk said his humanoid robot is going to be target price is $20,000. So I don't know if they'll be able to steer a lawnmower though. That might be another whole nother solution. Anyway, I digress. That's it for me.
I don't think I came up with anything new while you're talking either. So